Okay, so let us start the class for today. So today agenda is these are the different topics we are going to discuss: ETL bugs, ETL best practices in defect logging. So that means how we need to log the ETL defects and what are the tester responsibilities, ETL tester responsibilities, and then we will see ETL automation tools in the market. What are the different types of tools available in the market? Then we will see basic introduction about query search and how to install query search, how to download and how to install. Then we will see part basic things, and then let us see how to automate the test cases by creating query pairs. This is the concept purely related to the query search. I'll show you that how to run the query pairs, analyze the results. So these are purely belongs to the query search tool. Okay. Then we will see a small project that is sample user story. We will take a customer user story, and for that particular story is nothing but a requirement. Okay? So we have a data model, a mapping document, and it's very similar to real time. And then we will analyze the data model and mapping document, and then we will see how we have automated those test cases by using query search. And then we will see the frequently asked questions. Means in ETL testing, if you go for interview, what are all different questions you will face by the interviewer. So we will discuss those FAQs, and finally we will discuss about the resume part. So what kind of projects you need to put with respect to ETL, and for each ETL, especially for ETL testing, what are the different kinds of roles you need to put together in your project. So I'll introduce a few projects, 2 to 3 projects, how we need to put them into your resume, what are the roles and responsibility you need to specify. I'll tell you that part. Okay. So these are the different topics we are going to cover today. So first, let us complete this part. The first ETL bugs. This is the continuation of the last class. Okay. So in the last class, what we have seen is we have understood the mapping document, and also we have written some test cases, right? And we will see today bugs. So when we need to find the bug, whenever we execute our test cases, we will usually find the bugs, right? So what are all ETL bugs? Usually, what kind of bugs we will get as part of ETL? So that we are going to discuss today. Just a moment, let me share presentation. So in the last class we have seen all of them. Now we will see ETL bugs. So what kind of ETL bugs we usually get while executing out ETL test cases? So there are different kinds of bugs we will get. So basically, if I see, these are the different categories of bugs we can get as part of ETL testing. So for example, table structure issue. So for example, this is basically related to the data model. Table structure is not correct either in the source or target table. That is a one kind of bug. And index unable to drop the issue. Unable to drop. Index unable to drop. So suppose for example there are some index will be created to the tables. Sometimes we could not drop those indexes. Dropping means we cannot remove those indexes. So those kind of issues, and index is not created after the job run. So here the job is nothing but a ETL job. Okay. So index is not created after job run means, for example, developer is done the ETL session, ETL part. Then we need to verify the target table. So in the target table also index should be there, because if the source table some column is there, for example, that column is migrated to the target table. But in the source table, the source table column contains index. Index is created on the column, but in the target table, the index is not there. So these kind of issues we will get. And data issue in the source table. Sometimes the data is not properly aligned up. Data is not correct in the source table. Then obviously data will not be stored in the target table correctly. So data issues and data count mismatch between source and the target. So for example, for some queries or some transformation or some ETL scripts, source table contains some data, let us say like 3000 records, and same number of we are expecting in the target table. But sometimes because of some reasons, the data count will be mismatched. So that we need to report as a defect. And data not matching between source and target. The first one is talking about the data count, but this one is talking about the exact data. whatever data is present in the source table, maybe the data is not correct in the target table after ETL job is completed. And duplicate data loaded issue. Sometimes in source tables there are some duplicate records, but in the target tables we should not have any duplicate records, because the target table data means that is a data warehouse, right? So basically the data is used for analysis purpose. If you have the duplicate data, what's the problem? We'll get the wrong results, right? The analysis will become wrong. So that's the reason we need to make sure there should not be any duplicate records in the data warehouse. But sometimes in the source table we have, but in the target table we should not have any duplicate records. That is a one kind of bug we can see. And the final one is trim or not trim and null issue. Trimming is nothing but, for example, I have in the source table I have a first name column and the last name column. Okay, first let us say, for example, in the in the source table, let us see like this. In the source table, I have one column, that is name column. Okay, now in the target table I have two columns. One is first name column and the other one is the last name column. There are two fields in the target table. Now my transformation rule is, first name, for example, here I'll say this is my name, full name. Now after moving this into target table, as a first name I need to get this particular part, and as a second name or last name I should get this as a last name column. That should be here. Okay, so how we need to do this? While applying the transformation, so we need to apply some logic in a query. Then we can split this into two parts, and first part will be coming under first name, second part will coming under the last name. So here what we are doing exactly, we are trimming the value. This is the full value. When I get the first name, I want to trim the second part. If I want to get the last name, I want to get the first part. I want to trim the first part. So sometimes when I'm moving to the data from the source to target, the trimming problems will be there. When you trim the data, it should be perfectly trimmed. So there are some predefined functions, built-in functions, ltrim, rtrim, trim function. So by using those functions, we can trim this particular data and then send data to the target table. So this data is correctly happening or not, that we need to verify. So here we will face some issues. Sometimes here we have only the first name like this. That itself is a full name. Now how we need to get the first name and the last name? So this time what happens is, the first, there is no space at all here, so this will consider as the first name, but the last name will become as a null. Okay, but in the target tables we should not have any null kind of thing like this. Okay, so this we need to make sure. This is all about the trim and null issues. In the target table we should not have any nulls or incorrect data. And now data precision issue. Data precision issue means, for example, in my source table, I have some numeric column. So let us say salary column. In the salary column, I have some salaries. This is, for example, this is a numeric data type or number data type. And here we have two parts: scale and precision. Scale means before that whatever value is there, that is scale, and after the decimal whatever value we have, that is called as a precision. Okay, this is basically second part is called as a precision. Now when I define this salary column in a table, I mentioned a number of I gave the scale as a 4 digits, I gave scale as a 5 digits, and precision is 3 digits. Now inside this column I can store like 1 2 3 4 5 5 digits number, dot, after the dot I can store 3 digits number. This is perfect. Now when I move this data to the target, for example, the target is also having the salary column, and I want to get the bonus also. In the target, when I want to move this data, I want to add this, I want to I want to load this data into the target table along with the bonus. I need to add bonus to this existing one, and then I need to move this record to the target table. Then how we need to do? For example, let us say I have a bonus column also in the source table, but in the target table I don't have the bonus column, so I have only total salary column. this is bonus, and here I can say this is the total salary. This is my target table column. Okay, this is my target. This is my target. Now here in the bonus column, I have, for example, let us say 1000. Now in the target table, I should add these two, and then I need to get this total. So some value it is giving here. For example, let us say some value is given here. Now, for example, after decimal, there are no values at all. Sometimes these kind of issues we will get. So how why we are getting these kind of issues? Because here when we create the source table, the data type is number, and also we specified the precision, we specified the scale, and also precision. Before decimal, what are the values should be there? After the decimal, what are the values should be there? That we have defined. But in the target table, the column is defined only with the scale, not for the precision. So for example, number, data type, this is defined like this. 5 letters should be there. But there is no precision defined when you create the table. So then what happens is, here in the source table, we don't know whatever values we have after decimal, that values will be replaced with the zeros. No value at all. Only the before decimal, whatever value we have, that value will be added with the 1000, and the target table that will be stored. So this is a basic issues. So this, what is the root cause of this issue? Because the data type mismatching between the source table and the target table. So because of that particular reason, these values are not properly loaded into the target table. So these are also kind of issues. Now date format issue. Date format issue means, for example, in the source, date is maintained in one format like MMDDYYY. Suppose in the target table, date format is different. So for example, in the target table, first month, MMDDYYY. So after loading the data, the date format should be correct. Okay, if the date format is mismatched, then it will be completely wrong. So for example, let us see here. I have taken one example. In the source table, I have it, suppose let us say hire date. I have a column called hire date in the source table. So this is the format is first, the format is DD MM YYY. This is the format. This is the format of the date in the source table. Now usually we have suppose 5. This is the date M. This is 10th October, for example, slash 2000 or 2017. So this is the date format correctly mapped. This is date, this is month, and this is year. Now after transformation, after loading this data in the target, this will be like this. Even in the target table, we have a hire date. In the target table, we have a column called hire date. Right. Now in the target column, after loading this data, here we have different format. For example, here we have this format MMDDYYYY format. Now if this data is stored exactly same here, right? So this is a issue. This is not correct. Why? Because in the source table the format is different, but data is correctly loaded, no issue at all. But as per the format, it is not loaded. So while loading the data from the source to target, the ETL developer should take care of this. So before loading this source data to the target data, he has to change the format of the date, and then you have to load the data in the target database. So that's the responsibility of ETL developer. But as a tester, what our responsibility is, as per the date format, the data is loaded in the target format or not. So as per our expectation, it should be like this: first month and then date, right? So the conversion should happen on the query itself. In the ETL query itself, they have to do it. So these kind of issues we need to get sometimes, that is date format issues. And business transformation rules issues. Sometimes as per the transformation, whatever data you are expecting to be there in the target table, that data will not be present. So those kind of issues will be comes under the transformation issues. So that also we can log it. And finally, performance issues. Performance issues always will be there because based upon the data. So based upon the huge data, the performance automatically degraded. right? But if it is more than the benchmark standard, then we can report as a performance issue. But as a ETL functional tester, we don't bother about the performance issue. If it is a too much of performance issue, then we can still report it. And basically this is basically performance issue means this is not ETL job loading issue. Whenever we pull the data from the target while doing validation, so data is coming very slowly. So if you have 30,000, 50,000, 1 million records in a table, in target table, the data will be loaded very slowly. Okay, but based upon the data, the performance will depends. So these kind of issues we will get usually when you do ETL testing part. Okay, these are the different kinds of defects. Now, how to report these defects? So usually, as usual in the functional testing, on the regression testing, normal functional testers will use some defect tracking tools, right? Similarly, especially for ETL also, we will use tools just like a Jira or Bug Jira. So these kind of tools we will use when you're reporting to the ETL bugs. But what kind of information we need to log? Suppose if it's a manual tester or functional tester, what kind of details he will provide to the developer? Title of the defect or test data or screenshot, log files, right? What are the steps you have to perform to, reproduce the issue? So these kind of details the functional tester will provide to the developer as soon as you find the bug. But as a ETL tester, what kind of details which we need to provide to the developer? So here also almost same, but a slight change. Let me show you here. As a ETL tester, when you report to the defect to the developers, we need to specify the detailed summary. So what is the issue? And we need to provide some test data. Test data in the sense most of the times we will use SQL queries as a test data. So those SQL queries we need to specify. We need to send to the developer. So relevant SQL query, which is also part of test data, and description at depth. So description means detailed steps. So what are all steps we have performed? What is the source table? What is the target table? What is the mapping have been defined in the mapping sheet, mapping document? What is the data model? What are the column data type? So these are all information which we need to specify in the description part. Okay, so what is the query we have run to check the data validation in the target table? So that kind of details we need to send to the developer. Description at the depth, and don't miss to upload any proof. So what kind of proof we can say here as per the ETL testing part? Just if you use any tool, you will have some screenshots. If you don't use any tools, you don't have much. Okay, so only thing you will have is queries, SQL queries, and if you have the table data is displaying, that data is something wrong, so you can take that particular screenshot, you can attach to the bug. So basically these bugs we can report through the tool. So normally functional testers, whatever tools they will use, same kind of tools ETL testers also will use. Okay, but in this context there is not much difference between functional testers and ETL testers. Okay, but the environment is completely different. ETL testing environment, ETL testing servers, machines are completely different. Okay, right, so these are all the different things we need to provide to the developer whenever we find ETL defects. Okay, now let us move on to the what are the key responsibilities of ETL tester. Key responsibility of ETL testers. As a ETL tester, what I have to perform, what is my job on day-to-day basis? So first thing is we need to understand the requirements as a normal functional tester. But here the requirement is in the sense the mapping documents and data models. Mapping document and data models. These are our requirement as an ETL tester. But if it is a functional tester, function specification document and user stories, right? They are the inputs for the functional testers. But as a ETL tester, our input is mapping document and data models. So that I have shown you or share you in the last week session. Okay, Excel sheets. Now test plan preparation. So test plan contains what to test, how to test, when to test. These are the three key elements which we need to specify in the test plan. So what to test? Because what are the areas which we need to test? What are the source tables? What are the target tables? What are the transformations which we need to apply? So that kind of information we need to put in the test plan. That is what to test. How to test? How to test means, so are we going through manual test or are we going to use some any other tool? So that is all about the how to test. And when to test. When to test means is a timeline. When we need to start our testing, when we need to complete our testing, if there is any bugs, how much time we required, how much additional time we required. So that and all will be part of when to test. So whenever I say test plan, basically it is depends on three factors. One is what to test, how to test, when to test. So you need to remember these 3 points. Okay. And then test case preparation with SQL queries based on technical design or mapping document. So once we understand the mapping document, we should start writing out test cases, ETL test cases. So in the last class, I have shown you how to write the ETL test cases by using templates. So once we have written all test cases in your templates, you can upload them in your test management tools, whichever you have using in your company. Now reviewing test cases and SQL queries. So you have created your own test cases, you have created your own SQL queries. Who will review them? So your team member or your team lead or product manager, whoever is giving the mapping document or requirement, is responsible for reviewing your stuff. Either it can be test plan or test cases or SQL query. So suppose if something is missing on those, they will give some inputs and you need to consider those inputs and modify the documents, again send back to the other people for review. So after multiple reviews, everything is fine. Then you need to start your executing your test cases. So what is a prerequisite if you want to execute your ETL test cases? The developer has to run the ETL jobs. ETL jobs in the sense ETL scripts. So in the normal testing process, like functional testing, what developer responsibility? Developer develop the code and develop the application or develop the software. As a tester, we need to test the software. Similarly, here ETL developer create the ETL scripts, and by using those ETL scripts, he will load the data into the target systems. But as a tester, I will also create ETL scripts. They are not ETL development scripts. Okay, ETL testing skills, testing scripts. All are queries only. But developer will create queries for creating the target tables and the loading the data. But we are creating our queries for testing the data, which is already loaded into data warehouse. That is the difference. So that's the reason in the last class I have provided you two kinds of scripts. So you can see the difference. If I see here ETL scripts, so these ETL scripts will be executed by tester. Okay, these ETL scripts will be executed by, these ETL scripts will be executed by developer because he is pulling the data from the source table and inserting the same data into the target tables. Okay, so these are the ETL scripts. So if I run all these scripts as a one file, that is basically called as an ETL job. Okay, but how we need to verify this? For verifying the loading already loaded data, to verify them, we have created our own queries. So what are all queries we have created in the last class? We have created our own queries, right? So let me show you that. These are the queries. In the test cases on the mapping sheet itself, we have created our own queries. So if you come to the data validation queries, these are the queries we have created our own. So these are the queries we have created for testing the data after data is loaded completely on the targets. Okay, so there is a difference. But what ETL developer will do, ETL developers also will create scripts, but those scripts will be useful for loading the data into the targets. But our SQL scripts are useful for testing the data which is already loaded into the target. That is the difference. Okay, you need to remember this. This is a small difference. So what is the role of the developer now? He has to implement the ETL scripts and then he has to load the data into the target system. That is the job of ETL developer. Now what is the job of ETL tester? Once the developer is confirmed the data is already loaded into the data warehouse, then as a ETL tester we need to verify the loaded data is correctly or not as per the mapping documents. That is ETL job. So now here, if we want to start our execution, before that we need to get a confirmation email from the developer whether the ETL jobs are executed or not by the developer. So once he says executed successfully, then we have to start executing our own scripts after connecting to your target systems. Okay, that's our job. Now if you find any mismatches, then we need to raise our defects. That is also job of ETL tester. And active participant in defect triage called defect triage. What is defect triage? Any idea? Defect triage means, for example, in the previous testing cycle, we have created few bugs and all are not fixed. Still, there are bugs still open. But in the next cycle of session, next cycle of testing, whatever defects still pending in the previous session, those defects we need to again pull for the next iteration or next cycle of testing. So that is basically called as defect triage. Defect triage in the sense we need to organize all the defects which have been raised and closed or still pending. So that kind of information we need to always monitor. That is all about the defect triage. Defect triage call means a developer and testers will set up a call and they will discuss about these defects. That is basically called as defect triage call. And tracking defects. Tracking defects in the sense how many defects have been raised per day, how many have been fixed by developer, how many times again he ran the jobs, okay, and how many defects have been fixed, how many still pending, how many are planned for future fixes. So this kind of information we need to track. That is tracking defects. And updating and sharing the regular status. At the end of the day, you need to tell so how many test cases have been executed, how many have been passed, how many are failure, how many of defects have been raised. So these kind of issues you need to report as part of regular status. And once you have testing is completed, ETL testing is completed, finally you need to give in the sign off. So these are all basic responsibility of every ETL tester. And now I'm going to discuss a few things a little bit more after a few minutes. These are the high level. At high level, what ETL tester has to do. Okay, right. So now what we have covered so far is ETL bugs. What are the best practices while raising the ETL defects, and what are the responsibilities of ETL tester. So these things we discussed. Now let us discuss about what are the different tools, automation tools available in the market. There are n number of tools available in the market. So first, if I see the priority, here we can divide in the two different categories. As I said, ETL development tools, I can categorize in two different cases. ETL development tools and ETL testing tools. But unfortunately there is less number of tools available in the market as a open source. But ETL is a very complex and which is related to the productions, right? So most of the tools have been available market for license. No tool is free. Okay, so that's the reason. But some tools have been provided for trial version. If you go for Informatica tool is not for there is no trial version for that. So directly we need to purchase the license. And there are some tools which are available for trial versions. Those tools we can learn. And some tools are purely development tools, some tools are purely testing tools. So there are multiple choices out there. But most of the times 90% of the tools are licensed based. So far, till now I could not see any tool which is free for ETL testing. So whatever tools I have seen, most of them are licensed, complete licensed, and some tools they will provide a trial versions for 15 days or 30 days, and later time we need to purchase the license. Okay. So if you come to the ETL development tools, what are all ETL development tools available in the market? So there is a short difference between ETL testing tools and ETL development tools. Basically, ETL development tools are responsible for creating ETL jobs. ETL jobs means ETL scripts. So what is the use of ETL script? If I run this ETL script, this will load the data into the targets. ETL scripts. If I run this particular scripts, it will load the data into the target system. So ETL development tools basically responsible for creating ETL jobs. That's the first activity we have to perform while using ETL development tools. And then as soon as I created ETL scripts, we need to execute ETL jobs for loading the data into target systems. So this is the two important things will be done by the ETL development tools. ETL development tools. Here the developer is responsible. ETL developer is responsible for doing these tasks. So who will do this? Who will use these tools? ETL developer will use these tools. ETL developer will use these tools. Okay. Now what are examples for this? Informatica Power Center. So here Informatica itself, Informatica is not a tool actually. Informatica is a company. Informatica is the name of the company. The company will provide so many number of products. Some of products are related to ETL, some of the products are related to the data security, data masking. There are n number of tools available for Informatica. But here the Power Center is the most popular tool in the market. So people will call this power center itself is a Informatica. So people will call Informatica Power Center or Informatica or Power Center. But whatever it may, the Power Center is the exact name of the tool. People think this itself is a Informatica. People will call like whenever they say ETL testing tool, they say Informatica. Informatica, they will consider Informatica itself is a tool. That's not correct way. Informatica is a company which will provide a software called Power Center that will be used for ETL developing as well as testing. Okay. So Informatica Power Center is one of the example. And there is another tool data stage. Data stage. This is from IBM. This is from IBM. This is another data stage. We have a development tool and we have SAP BO business intelligence. Sorry, not BIBO business objects. Okay, so there are n number of tools, but these are the basic, important, and very popular tools available in the market as part of ETL development. And by using these tools, we no need, we not even do ETL development. We can also do ETL testing. Okay, but usually in the previous days, just 3 to 4 years back, there is no ETL testing separately. Whoever is developing the ETL part, the developer is responsible for test the same ETL jobs. But nowadays it becomes very complex, so that people are expecting some specific testing skills to test the ETL jobs. So that's the reason. So ETL Informatica Power Center, IBM Data Stage, these tools are basically used by the developer. And nowadays people are also use these tools as a testing. But whoever is using these tools as a testing purpose, they should have some advanced knowledge on this, because these tools are very complex to learn, and we need some full-fledged database background to learn these particular tools. So once you learn these tools, there is no difference between tester and developer. You can perform anything. Okay, that's how. So now if you come to specific to ETL tools, from the last 2 to 3 years, especially the number of ETL tools came into the picture in the market. So ETL testing tools now. ETL testing tools. Now basically ETL testing tools, what these tools will do. Here ETL development will create the ETL jobs. If I run those jobs, automatically data will be loaded into the target systems. But here ETL testing tool, ETL testing tools used for creating or automating ETL test cases. ETL test cases. What ETL test case will do basically? It basically validate the target systems, validate the data or tables, whatever in the target system, right? So ETL testing tools used for automating ETL test cases. So whatever queries we are writing, source and target queries and validating against the target database, the same thing will be done by the ETL tools. Okay. But these tools are not responsible for loading the data into the target, getting the data from the source and loading the data into target. ETL testing tools cannot do that. Okay, ETL testing tools can execute the queries against the source and target databases and pull the data and validate the data. So that part will be done by the ETL testing tool. Okay. Now, who will use these ETL testing tools? Basically, ETL testers. ETL testers will use these tools. ETL testers will use these tools. Now, what are the most popular tools available in the market? As I said, Informatica Power Center, IBM Stage, these tools we can still use it for ETL testing also. Apart from this, we have query search. This is another most important tool. We have another tool called data gaps. This is also an ETL testing tool, purely ETL testing tools. Query search, data gaps, and also from the Microsoft, we have Microsoft uh, analysis services, MSIS, Microsoft Information Analysis Services. So these are another tool we have from the Microsoft, and from IBM, also from Oracle, we have Oracle and Business Intelligence. Okay, so these are all the different tools available in the market for ETL testing. Okay, for business reporting, for example, if you want to generate reports, dashboards, a presentation layer is different. Okay, first level is ETL development will happen, then second level is ETL testing happen. Once the testing is done, the same data can be used for reporting purpose by the business users. Their uh, tools will come. They are called as business intelligence tools or called as a reporting tools. Reporting tools. What are those reporting tools? Basically, these reporting tools are used by the analyst, like big data analyst, ETL analyst, data scientist, right? There are a number of professions are there nowadays in the market. So those people are using these reporting tools. So for example, like Cognos is an example. IBM Cognos is an example for reporting tool, and Tableau is a one of the tool. Okay, Tableau is a tool, and Cognos is a tool, and SAP Business Objects, Oracle Business Objects, business intelligence, not objects. Business objects is a ETL and business intelligence is a reporting. Oracle Business Intelligence, Tableau, SAP, IBM Cognos. So these are all the different examples for reporting tools which are used by the analyst. Used for analyze the data present on data warehouse. Data warehouse. This is the relation between all three different designations. Okay, ETL developer, ETL testing, and data analyst. So used for analyze the data present on the data house. Who is analyze the data? Who will analyze the data? Data analyst will analyze the data. Is responsible. Is how we will analyze the data. He has to generate the graphs or reports. Data analyst is responsible for generating dashboards or reports, dashboards or reports, etc. So based on the reports, he will analyze the data. Analyze the data based on the reports generated. So this is the basically different tools and different jobs which are done by the different people. Okay, this is entire system. Now we move on to this. This is done. So that is all about ETL automation tools available in the market. Okay. Now we are moving to the query search. Let us see first of all what is query search. So if you search this in the Google, you will get first website. Query search is also very popular query search. If I type this, you will get the first website called www.querysearch.com. So this is the website. This is the official website. So they will provide the software. The software name is also a query search. So they will provide different kinds of tools like data migration, data ETL extracts, or transform and the load. So for doing different kinds of testing, they will provide different kinds of tools. The most important tool is a query search. So these people are having different clients are using the same tool. So query search is a very simple and easiest tool to perform the ETL testing part. Okay. Now, if you want to use this particular tool, what you need to do is you need to go for that free trial. Just you need to go here, try it for free. If I click on the try it for free, it will give you three different options. So they have put this query search in the cloud. Cloud means they will give you the free service, the installation, everything will be available in the cloud. Just they will give you one email id and password, they will give you one url. If you connect to that particular url, automatically you will get the query search window application in your browser. By default you will get it, even though you don't need to install anything in your system. What you need to do, just you click on the start my cloud. It will ask you for email address and some information. And if you click on the start my trial, so what they will do is they will give you one url, username and the password. And if I open this url, the query search tool will be open. That's basically uh, web based application, it is not window based application. Okay, it is purely web based application. We can access all the query search screens by using browser itself. Remember that point. Okay, by using browser we can access, we have this particular url, we will have some url. So if I go for the cloud, then they will provide some url, username and the password. That will be valid for only 3 days, only for 3 days. So you don't need to download, you don't need to install anything here. Just they will provide one url, username and password to your email. That's it. If you open the url, enter username, password, you will get all the stuff from the application. But that will be valid for only 3 days. That is a hosted cloud trial. And this second one is a 15-day trial free trial. So this we can download, we can install in your windows machine, and we can still use it for 15 days. We can use it for 15 days. And with this trial version, by default we will get MySQL database. So if you want to work with some tool, we should connect to the some database, right? Suppose so far we have used Oracle as a source as well as target. But here query search, we will get by default a database called MySQL database. And we will also get some sources and target databases. So those sources and target database, we can use it for testing by using query search tool. Okay. So this one we need to download. If I click on the download my trial version, it will download. It is simply exe format. I'll show you how it will be. Once you download, you get this. I'll show you. I already downloaded this because this is a huge size. I cannot put this into Google Drive, but you should download this. Okay, I'll show you how the installer will be. Okay, now when you click on the download link here, let me click on the download my trial here. So again, email address and so on, some information, just click on start free trial. Okay, so when you download here, make sure you should select based upon your operating system. So here you will get two versions. Query Search installer, this is 5.2.8, this is the latest version of Query Search software. One is for 64-bit, one is for 86, that is 32-bit. If your machine is 64-bit, you need to download this one. It will hardly take 15 to 20 minutes to download based upon your network speed. So once you have download this exe, your software will be ready. Now you need to install this in your system. Okay, I'm now talking about the trial version. That's the second one. And don't go for the cloud version because this is very limited. Even though they will provide username, password and everything, you cannot use more options here. Okay, that is very tricky and sometimes it will be down. So the 15-day trial is fine. You can do this, you can download this. Okay, so now if you go here, this is my exe file. Now they will also provide you one document. I'll copy anyway this document, installation instructions and everything. Here I have a few documents. So here, Query Search installation guide for Windows. I'll send you this document, everyone. So if you go through this document, you will get very simple. Let me open once again. Adobe Reader. Okay, see now. Let me put 100%. Okay, this is very simple document, installation guide. It will provide you step-by-step installation steps. You need to just go through the same thing. No need to do anything. Just once you have installed this, or once you have downloaded this, you need to follow these steps. So they will give here the steps here. First of all, they'll talk about all about these tools. Then installation process will start. They will say basic installation requirements, what are all things you should require and everything. These are not required for you because they are listing here what are all databases the query search will support, and your job will start from here. So this is the basic things you should require. If you want to install query search, this is the configuration you should have. If your Windows is this one, that is fine. Even you can go for 32 64-bit Windows, or Windows 7 is also fine. Even Windows 10 also it will work, no issues. Okay. And now from here you need to start. So as soon as you click on the exe file, you will get this particular screen, and the next step, it will ask for the date. You need to check mark with the database and so on. Let me maximize this window, right? So here we need to install all these components. The second screen it will show you these components. We need to have database. If I select database, by default MySQL database, MySQL database will be installed with the query search. Okay, and app server is mandatorily required because this is, as I said, this is a web-based application. We need to access this query search by using URL, by using browser. So if I want to run through browser, app server is very much required. So we need to select app server. Agent is also required. If I don't install agent, you cannot run your scripts, automated script, query search. That's the main heart of the tool. Agent and tutorials and sample data is optional, but still you need to select this because this will be very much useful for you for practicing. Okay, tutorials and sample data. They will provide their own tutorials and sample data to you. And done. So once you have done, click on the next here. Then it will give you the default port, query search database port 3306. Don't change this port, keep it as it is. Click on the next here, and then one more screen coming like this. Again, query search app server HTTP port is 80, and here it will give you one more port 8005, which are default ports. You no need to change anything. Just click on the next. Now here in this particular screen, it will give you what are all the drivers should be installed. So because ETL testing can be done for any databases, right? The source databases or target databases can be any kind of databases. So currently, query search will support these kind of data types. Database, Oracle, Teradata, Sybase, Flatfile, MySQL, SQL Server, MySQL, Hadoop. Right? These environments query search will support. But in the trial version, all environment, even though if you selected this, just this will install the drivers, not exactly the databases. Okay. So just select it, all of them. In the trial version, we cannot use all these databases. We can use only MySQL part. Other databases we cannot use in the trial version. Now go here. If you select all these databases, click on the next option. Then it will take some time to install all of them. And finally, you will get this particular screen. So launch query search in default browser. So whichever browser you have default, if you click on the finish, the URL will be opened in the browser automatically. Okay. So what could be the URL? The URL will be like this. This is the URL. You can see in the screen. http:// server name. Server name is localhost. Colon. Port number is 3306. That is a port we got at the installation time. Right? 3306 is the port number. And this is the port number colon / query search. This is the URL. If I see this particular screen, you will know this. Let me maximize this. Okay, see this. Here, this is application. This is the way we need to open. Your server.com. What is this? Your machine name or your IP address or localhost.com. Colon query search and column. If I provide this URL, your login screen will be appear. And by default, admin and admin is a username and password. Admin and admin. So as soon as you log into the application, so you will provide everything here. If you go through this document, each and everything will be there. Nothing has been missed. Okay. So you need to just go through step by step. So after opening this URL, you will see username and the password. Now enter username and the password. Then you will get screen. So in this document, there is no home screen is present. But that is a basic. This document is only about the installation. So that's the reason the home screen is not listed out here. Okay, this is very simple installation. It is not much complicated like Oracle. Okay, this is very simple. Just need to click on exe, whatever default values are coming, so let it be, and go next. But end screen, you need to remember, just finish here. automatically the URL will be opened in the browser. If it is not opening the browser, you can open the browser manually, then paste your URL. I'll tell you what is the URL and all. Okay, so this is the basically installation section. Okay, so is it clear? Kavita and Gary, can you do that? Can you all do the installation while going through this document? Because this is very simple document. Okay, so very simple. It is not much complicated as Oracle. The first time itself, it will go very smoothly. So I'll provide you this link for downloading the query search. So now I'm talking about query search. Download, download query search. This is the link. Okay. So once you have download, just follow the instructions. I'll send you this document. Okay. Every document will be there. The document name is query search installation underscore guide underscore windows. By seeing the name itself, we will know. So this document is provided clearly. Very simple steps you need to go through. Fine. Done. So now once we have installed query search, so what is the next step? We will see how we need to work with the query search. So what we have seen this part, right? Installation query search. Now let us enter into the query search and then we will see how we need to work with the query search. This is the most important and critical steps. Now I will show you, this is my another VM software. So this is my uh, system. Here I have installed my query search. And one more important thing is, as soon as you have installed query search complete tool, it will automatically install MySQL database in your machine. Okay, query search automatically install MySQL in your system. You don't need to install MySQL separately. So MySQL database is already installed by query search tool. So first of all, before opening the query search tool, I will open the MySQL database. I will connect to the MySQL database, and what are all things the query search is provided. What are all target database, what is the source databases it is provided. So that we will see now first, and then we go for the query search tool. Now you can still use SQL developer to connect to the MySQL database. You can still use SQL developer tool to connect to the MySQL database. This is my SQL developer tool. When you click on the new connection here by default you will not see these options. If you want, you can try in your system. If you open your SQL developer, you cannot see this MySQL tab. You can see only Oracle and Access, these things. You cannot see MySQL tab. But how we need to get this tab? If you want to get this tab, you need to do one thing. What is that is? We need to download MySQL driver, that is jar file, and we need to configure the jar file with SQL developer tool. That's a very simple step. I'll tell you. What we need to do is, if you want to establish the connection with the MySQL database, we require this tab. How we will get this tab? Because SQL developer is designed only for Oracle. We can't use it for other databases. But if you want to use some other databases like DB2, MySQL or MySQL Server or Teradata or DB2, whatever, we need to download that particular jar file or that particular driver file. Then we need to configure the driver with this SQL developer. Then we can connect to any other databases apart from the Oracle. So I have a driver, MySQL driver. So I will also provide you this driver. See, MySQL connector Java. Let me unzip this file. I'll show you. You can just download this driver in the online also. So if you go here, this is simply a file. So inside this, this is a bin file. So see, MySQL connector Java 5.1.44 bin.jar file. So this is the basically jar file. And also if you go lib file, let me show you. 1 second. So demo. Okay, so not this one. So this is the jar file. So whichever jar file we get, this is the jar file you will get. MySQL hyphen connector hyphen Java hyphen the bin.jar. So this is a jar file. So you can go through net and can still download a jar file. If you download MySQL driver, you can say MySQL JDBC driver download. If I say, it will directly give you some links. So here MySQL download connector. If I click on this, it will give you some, it will navigate to some other page. So here, from here you can download this. We are working on Windows, so that we need to download the zip file. So this is the link. So this is the link for downloading query search, and this is a download MySQL JDBC driver. Okay, so I'll provide you anyway this driver. I'll put it in the Google Drive. This is very small one. Okay, so why we are downloading this driver? Because whenever you install query search tool, it is also provide the MySQL database in your system. So MySQL database is already installed in your system with the query search. But I want to check what are all the data or what are all tables they have provided. Then I should connect to the MySQL database. So through SQL developer, I can connect to the MySQL database. So if you want to connect to the MySQL database, I require driver file. That is a driver which I have downloaded now. So then what we need to do is, as soon as you downloaded the driver, we need to associate the driver to your SQL developer. How to associate? Go to the tools, preferences. You can do it parallelly in your system if you want. Okay. What we need to do is go to the tools, preferences. Here there is an option called database. Okay, go to the database section. Here you can see third party JDBC drivers. Why you are calling third party means this is not Oracle database. So whatever database other than Oracle are all called third party databases. But SQL developer is developed only for Oracle, right? So that's the reason. So go to this section under databases, third party JDBC drivers, and then here I already added here. If you see, observe here, my driver is present here. So I already added this driver. So how to add this driver? Just click on add entry, and wherever you copied that driver, go to that particular driver location under this SQL server. My driver is under SQL developer. Sorry. C colon program files. I should navigate to that particular like for example C colon program files and SQL developer. Where is my SQL developer here? Yeah, this is my SQL developer. Under this we have a JDBC. This is very small letters, so you need to check very careful. This is my JDBC. Under JDBC underlip, and here MySQL driver is present. So this jar file seems like a zip file here, but that is a correct drive. So you need to select this and click on the select. As soon as you done this step, automatically the driver will appear here. Okay, and then click on OK button. As soon as you click on OK button, then you come back to the SQL developer home page. Now, as soon as you click on the driver here, plus button, you will get the tab here. Unless you added that particular driver, you will not get this particular option. Okay, so we have added MySQL driver so that we are getting this option. And if you add DB2 driver, you will get the DB2 option. If you have suppose added Teradata driver, you will get the Teradata tab here. So whichever database you want to connect, you can still use SQL developer for any other databases. Okay, is it clear so far, everyone? So why am I doing this one? Because I want to connect to the MySQL database to see what are all the tables are provided by query search. So if you want to connect to the MySQL database, I require a client. So I have a SQL developer already, but I want to use this SQL developer for connecting to the MySQL database. So for that, I have to download the driver and associate the same driver to the SQL developer. Now I already associated. Then if I want to establish the connection to the MySQL, take the new connection. Here select the MySQL tab
provide some name here, username and the password. And here default port of MySQL is 3306. When you click on it, when I enter this local host, because your MySQL is installed in the local host itself, right? Because wherever the query search is installed on the same machine, MySQL database is also present. So here we need to provide the host name, port number. If you click on the choose database, automatically few databases will be populated here. Databases in the sense MySQL itself having some databases. MySQL is the overall name of the database, but inside this we have a multiple databases. Okay, that list will be displayed here. Now I have established two connections. The query itself is provided to target and source. Let me show you that part. We are going step by step. Okay, don't forget, if you are not clear about anything, just ask me immediately. I'll repeat that. Now I'll show you what are all things provided by MySQL database by default. Now go to the query search, database connections. I'll give you these documents anyway. Okay. Right. So these are the database connections. So MySQL database, which is coming from query search tool, has provided MySQL JetCity source database. This is the source database. The connection details are localhost 3306, database is JetCity, username, password is sales and sales. If you log in as this particular user, you will get these three tables: purchase, sale and sale item. And this is a source database. And the target database also provided. This is the local host 3306, same port, database is DW. DW means data warehouse. And the login user is again sales and sales. And these are the tables you will have in the target database. See, in the source database we have three tables, but in the target database we have many number of tables. So the mapping we need to verify from the source tables to target tables. Okay, these are the connection details which have been provided by MySQL. So now let me connect to these particular connections using SQL Developer, and let us check what are these tables are available or not. Now go to SQL Developer. First of all, this is my jetcity-source. The connection name you can give anything, but one is source, another one is target. Okay, just right click here. We already added, but I'll show you the properties here. So let me give some name, because this is a source database. This is my username and this is the password. Username is sales and password is also sales. Now under MySQL tab, you can provide as a local host, or you can provide your system IP address, or you can provide your system name. Okay, so if you don't know the IP or system name, just say localhost. Localhost, why we are saying localhost? Because your MySQL is installed in your local system. That's the reason. And by default, you will get 3306 port. After entering these details, just click on the choose database. When I click on the choose database, it will give you all the databases which have been created under MySQL. So this is a source database, right? So here we need to select jetcity is a source database. Select and test it. Connection is success. Now connect. So as soon as I connected to this database, now it is open here. If you expand this one, under this jetcity, right, we have connected to jetcity. So under jetcity, go to the table section. Here there are three tables are present: purchaser, sales and sales item. So these are the three tables. If you just click here, it will give you what are all columns present in a table and other information. If you click on the sales, it will give you the information about the sales, what are all columns are present. And if you give the purchaser, if you select the purchaser, it will show you all the columns present in a table. And if you want to get the data, you can also get the data. So let us say select star from purchaser, that is my table, and semicolon. Now if I execute this query, it will give you the data present in the purchaser table. Okay, similarly we have sale table and sale item. So these are the source tables. These are all the source table, as I said. So these are all comes under the source tables. And jetcity is a source database which is already provided by query search. Now these schemas we are going to use for automating test cases by using query search. Okay, now we have a data warehouse. This is again target database. Again here we have multiple tables. Now I'll connect to my target database. This is a source database. Okay,
Now I will take another connection. This is a target. Let me show you properties. So I name it as a DW underscore target. Here also the username password is the same. MySQL localhost 330 same, but here the database is different. Here in previously we selected ZCT as a source database, but now I need to select DW, data warehouse. DW means data warehouse. This is a target database. Now click on test, success, now connect. Now it is open the editor. So as soon as you connected this, expand this tab, you will see multiple databases. Under this we connected to DW. Under DW we have a tables. So see, all these tables are available. If I click on this table, it will show you all the columns. These are all the target table columns. So target database tables. These are all target data warehouse tables. Okay. Now these details are by default provided by MySQL database, which is already installed with query search tool. Okay. Now once you install query search tool, the next thing you need to do is you need to check whether these details are working fine or not with your SQL developer. Okay, so I already told you how to configure SQL developer to connect to the MySQL database. Okay, that you need to do it. So I have established the connection to the source and also I have the target database connected. Now I have both the things. I have connected MySQL database. Now we are ready to work with the query search tool. Right, the next thing is we have downloaded query search. We have already installed. I'll show you how to log in. And then we also already installed this MySQL is already coming with the query search tool. We have already connected to MySQL database by using SQL developer. Now I have source and target and also I have installed query search. Now before going to that, we need to understand. So now we have seen just source tables and target tables, right? Now what else we required if we want to start ETL testing? We required mapping document, right? So these tables are not enough for us. We need a mapping document. Then only we can load the data from the source to their target. So we require mapping document, right? Currently we don't know what are the data which we need to load from the source to target. So we require mapping document. So the query search itself is provided some mapping document. So I'll show you that document. So query search models and mappings document.pdf. Let me open this. Open with Adobe Reader. Right. So this is sample data warehouse tutorial. So once you have installed query search, you will get all these document by default, or else I will send you this document. Okay. Now we know the tables present in a source. We know the tables present in a target, but we don't know what are all mappings should be taken care, right? So now this document will provide the data models and also mappings. Now when I see this here, basically this is a structure the query search is provided. So in MySQL I said source, right? So this is the source. They provided my XMART data is also. This is just JetCity and XMART. Okay, these two are provided by query search, but I am taking the JetCity data as a source. That is MySQL data. Okay, and this data we need to do ETL and store into the MySQL. So source and target both are MySQL only. And here this is the source data we need to pull through ETL process and store them into the MySQL. Now I am using JetCT as a source. MySQL, this one is a target. Okay. Now this is the data model which is there under JetCT database. Got my point? So here I have connected to the JetCT, right? So this is a source I'm taking. Again I'm connecting here. This is my database. So if you observe here in the JetCT, you can see how many tables? You can see 3 tables: purchaser, sale, and sale item. But this data model, we don't know exactly what are entity constraints, what are the relationships, what are the data types. We don't know exactly. So this is all noted in the document, that is data model document, right? So this is the data model. Now purchaser is a table which contains these columns and data types, and sale is a table, columns and data type, and sale item. Okay, so these are the tables and relationships between these two. This is a data model of JetCT database.
Now this is another data model is also provided for XMart, but I'm not going to use this XMart, just leave as it is. And this is a bigger one actually. So this is XMart. Now this is a target data warehouse table structure. In the data warehouse, the target database, how many tables we have seen in the target table. So this is my target. In the target is a DW is my target data warehouse. DW means data warehouse. So in this we have multiple tables. Address underscore dim. Dim is nothing but the dimension. Customer underscore dim. Usually in the data warehouse names will be end with the hyphen dim or hyphen fact. Dim means dimension table. Fact means fact table. In the initial classes I told you, right, dimension table, fact tables. So in the data warehouse almost always we will have either dimension tables or fact tables. So dim means nothing but the dimension table, fact is nothing but a fact table. So here address underscore dim, customer underscore dim, date underscore dim is the dimension tables. Even product underscore dim, region underscore dim. These are all dimension tables and fact tables. Overall all are the target database tables. Now we don't know what are all columns, what are all relationship between these tables. Now by seeing this data model, we can understand at the high level what are all the tables we have, what are all the columns we have, what are the relationship, how they have connected internally. So this kind of information we can get by using this data model. Okay, this information will be useful while writing your test cases. So in the real time, this is exactly the mapping sheet seems like that. Okay, so but in the previous class I showed you that is the dummy kind of mapping sheet I have created for your understanding for demo purpose, but this is an actual real time data mapping sheet. Okay, so they will provide you these databases, they will provide the relationship between the tables in the source tables and in the target tables, and then they will give you the mapping sheet. This is exactly mapping sheet. So what mapping sheet contains, what are the source tables and source columns, and what is the mapping type we need to use, and what is the target table and target database. This is the information we have. Now if you observe here, let me maximize. This is a mapping sheet. So here each and every mapping is defined in this particular sheet. So if you observe here, first one is nothing. It is start from the 1.0.1. So source table is purchaser and ID purchaser is a column name in this particular table, and this is the type, data type. And what is the transformation logic? There is no logic. Direct map. Direct map means we need to load this data as it is in the target table. What is the target table? Customer underscore dim is a target table. What is the target column? Source ID is the column. See, in the source table, the column is ID purchaser, but in the target table, the column is source underscore ID. And this is an example I have been here. This is a basically ID. Okay, so this is a one mapping. By seeing this mapping, we have to write our test case and test query. Similarly, other mappings have been defined in this document. Same purchaser is a table, full name is a source column name, and here there is a validation. See, this is very important. Purchaser is a source table, full name is a column available under purchasers, and here in the target table we have a customer underscore dim, but here we have only first. The column name is first, but here the column name is full name. But here we don't have first name and the last name in the source table. But what we need to do, what is the transformation here they are saying? Extract target customer underscore dim dot first from source purchaser dot full name by splitting full name by colon and taking the first substring. So by reading this, what we need to understand is full name is combination of two letters. Like suppose if I say Pavan and Kumar, these are two strings. In that two string, Pavan is the first name, Kumar is the second name. So what they are saying here, here in the target table we have only one column, that is first. The column name is first. Then what you need to do as per the transformation, I need to extract the first subset of the name. Then I make it as a first name. Then load the data into the first column. Similarly, the last column, first name, last name. So these two levels of transformations we need to perform. So we need to split first name into two parts. First part will be loaded in the first column. Second part will be loaded in the last column. Okay, this transformation logic is very important. Similarly, This document is provided all the source tables, all the source columns and transformation logics and target tables, target columns and some example data. Okay, if you go through one by one, you can get this. So this is very huge document. So all mappings have been defined in this. So in the real time, the mapping should be like this. This is exact real time document. Okay, so this is I left to you for practicing. This is a similar, just like this is a small kind of project work. Okay, so now you can write all the test cases and everything for this document because this is an input document for ETL tester. This is an input document for ETL tester. Now, as soon as I shown you have connected source database and target database, and also we have seen data model, and also we have seen mapping now, right? Now we have understood these are all the basic data which is already provided by query search. Now the next step. Now we are moving on to the query search tool. Very important. So here we have seen how to install query search. Now we are logging into query search. Next step. So now let us see log into query search. Log into query search. How to log into query search? So now I said we need to use some URL. So open the browser. You can open with any browser. Okay, but usually as soon as you install your query search, you will get this option in the all programs. If I see here under query search, you can see one option here, launch query search. This is an option. Okay, and you need to use that. And before that, as soon as you install query search tool, it will create a Windows service. Okay, and agent service that should be up and running always. Sometimes whenever you shut down the system, that service also will be shut down. You need to make sure that. I'll show you what is that. If you go for services, Windows services. Okay, so let me open the Windows services. So in Windows services, you can see so many services currently running. And here in this particular service, you can just type Q here. You can see many number of services running as part of query search. This is the main service, query search agent. This is always up and running. That we need to make sure before opening the query search tool. And second, this service is for MySQL database. So MySQL is also there in your system, right? If you want to down the MySQL database, you can stop this service. And if you want to connect to the MySQL database, this service also should up and running always. And one more, this one, query search Tomcat is also up and running. If I want to open your application in the browser, these two services also always up and running. So overall, these four services should be up and running always if you want to work with the query search. Okay, right? So clear so far, everyone? Now I'm moving to open the query search application. Now, as I said, this is a browser application, right? So I need to open the browser. Right, let me open this, just a moment. Okay, so what's the URL I need to type? So just type localhost, okay, localhost colon 3306 slash query search. Just enter. This is a URL you need to use for opening the query search. Page not working. Let me check. Something is wrong. Let me use this one. Yes, now it is opening. Just a moment. Okay, now it is loading the login page. So how to open this? How to log in? First open this URL.
how to open this URL? Just type localhost slash, you can directly type query search. But if you want to access this is from remote machine, then you need to provide the port number. If you provide the port number also, not a problem. 3306 is the port number. If you enter this http colon slash slash, it is already there in the document. Okay, so installation document they have provided. If you go to the installation document, let me open this, open with Adobe Reader. So this is my installation document. So in this document, at the end, they have given the URL, how we need to open at the last. Once this is the URL format. This is the format of the URL. http colon slash slash instead of this is the server name means localhost colon port means 3306 slash query search. Okay, so this is a syntax URL and this is an example. Got it? So now we are logging into the application. So this is my query search. Okay, now I log into this application. So how to log into this application? Username password is admin. Now click on the login. Okay, now it is loading in query search tool. Okay, now as soon as you log into this application first time, it will show you some dashboards in the home page. These are not much required for us. And here at the top, you will see few menus. And this is basically called all design library, library explorer, or all query page. There are some options will be there. This is another option we have. This is another option. So basically three things are there. So one is for designing session, and second is for execution session. Oh, sorry, second is for scheduling session. Third is for execution session, and the last option is for analyzing the reports. There are few options are there. Okay, so don't consider all of things. So there are very complex. If you want to learn this tool, it will take a lot of so many classes. Just I will introduce you this tool, how to use this tool, and how we can use this tool basic high level. Okay. Now here I have logged into this particular tool. What is the first step we need to do? So in this particular tool, there is some terminology we need to understand. As I said here, creating query pairs in a query search, that we need to understand. As soon as I log in, this is the next step. So first of all, we need to understand what is query pair. What is query pair? This is actually query search terminology. Okay, this terminology will not be useful for any other tools. Query pair is combination of source and target queries. So if I do any kind of ETL evaluation, we will define a query, right? We will write a query. So that query we will execute on the source database and also execute on the target database. And if you get the same result, then our test is passed. That is the way we are doing in the ETL testing part. Now here query pair is nothing but source query and target query. So why we are saying source query, target query? Because if you do manual testing, we have only one query. That query will be run against the source database, and the same query can be run against the target database. We will see the data. But in the query, if you want to do the automation part perspective, we don't have one query. We should have two queries. One query should run against the source database. Another query we need to run against the target database. Why? Because in the real time, these two databases are completely located in different formats or different databases or different places basically. So we need to connect
differently. We cannot connect at one place source as target. Okay. But in the last week, whichever demo sheets I have provided, there I have used only one database. Source and target tables are present in the same database. But here that is a not context. Source is a different place, target is a different place. So we need to use two different queries, source query and target query. And these queries we need to tell to the tool. We need to provide to the query search tool. Then it is automatically combine that query. It will run those two queries against the source and target. Then it will produce the result. So query pair is nothing but is a combination of source and target query. That is basically called query pair. So when you want to do some test case in query search, first thing is we need to create a query pair. That is first important. And then we need to execute the query pair. And once execution is completed, then it will run the query pair. Then finally it will produce the result. Okay. So for every test case, we need to write a query pair in automation tool. Got my point? In functional testing, if we have manual test case, corresponding automation test case we will create, right? Similarly here, for every test case, we need to create one query pair in the query search. Okay. Now we will see how to create a query pair and also how to execute that query pair and how to see the output. That we will see now. So now this is my query search. So how to create query pair? So you guys have understood what is query pair. Query pair is a combination of two queries. One is source table query and another one is target table query. Okay. Now if you want to create a new query pair, so if you observe here query search design part, here the left side tree there is a query pairs plus button is there. So there are already predefined query pairs have been created under ZCT. For ZCT database, there are some query pairs have been created already. We can also create our own query pairs. Now I'll create our own query pair. So I want to validate the data source to target. So basic test case I'll do it. How we need to do? Just observe this flow. I need to select the query pair. Okay. We can do like this. We can directly go like this, or we can go create new query pair here, or we can use a wizard also. Wizard will be very simple for us instead of creating this way. So simply what we can do is here there is a wizard. Just a moment. Yeah, launch query wizard. This is an option we need to use. So if you want to create a query pair, there are two ways of creation query pair. One way is, in first way, we have to provide our own queries. In first way, we have to provide our own queries. The second way is, the tool itself automatically map the columns and generate the queries. These are the two different things we need to understand. There are two ways of preparing the query pair. There are two ways. Two ways of creating query pairs. Query pair. Pair is nothing but two queries. One is by using wizard, and the second thing is by using create query pair option. These are the two ways. But if I use the first method, we don't need to write SQL queries. Even target query or source query, we don't require to write anything. Okay. Only thing is it will show all the source tables, target tables, mapping, everything it will be shown. We don't need to write any queries here. So as a beginner, this first method is very much useful. If you are good at queries in writing, then go for the second option. But here we should write our own queries. We should write SQL queries manually. This is the second part. So people are very much good at writing queries. They will go for the second option. People they are not much good at writing queries. They will go for the first option. Okay. Both options I'll show you. Just a minute. First, let us go for the simple one by using wizard. Now open this. So in this document, this is the wizard. Go to here there is an option called launch query widget. Click on this option, launch query widget. Okay, this will give you one screen. So you don't need to write anything. I'll provide you all these documents step by step. If you go through the notes and document, you can do these steps. Okay, don't worry about it. Now, as soon as I select this option, it will open the query widget. Click on the next option. Now it will show you two options. This will says a source connection. This will says about the target connection. So here query search is already created some connections to the MySQL databases. So just we need to use those connections. So if you click on the drop down box, these are all the different connections which have been created. Just like SQL developer we created connections, right? Similarly, query widget is created these connections. So we need to take the source connection. Which database? JetCity source database. This is our database, right? Source database. Now it is tick mark. That means it is connected. Now we need to select the target database. So what is our target database? DW underscore target. This is our target database. Select this. Now this is also connected. Now click on the next button here. Okay. Now, if you want to compare the source table with the target table, we can do three different comparisons. One is we can do at the column level comparison. Second is a table level comparison. Third one is a row count comparison. So what is column level comparison? Suppose in the source table there is one column. In the target table there is one column. The column should be exactly the same. The columns and data should be exactly the same. That we need to verify by using the first one. Column level comparison will focus on the columns in the source table and target. Here you can see the description here. Okay. And if you put the cursor also here, it will show each selected column in the source table will be compared to its corresponding column in the target table. Okay. And second option, table level comparison means it will compare all the columns from the source table with all the columns from the target table. That is table level comparison. A row count comparison is for number of rows in a source table and number of rows in a target. That is about the row count comparison. So whichever validation we want to do, that particular option we need to select. So let me select the row count comparison first of all. Or you can also say column level comparison. No issues. Let me take column level comparison first of all. And then go to the next option. Okay. Now here, these are the source schemas. These are the target schemas. Schema is in the sense it is also a kind of database. Okay. This is the source. We are taking as a JetCity. Right. Here we are taking as a DW. Remember, DW means data warehouse. Now what we need to do is, we need to compare this JetCity with DW. Now what we need to do, we need to click on JetCity and drag it to DW. Just drag and drop. That's it. Okay. Just let me do once again. Just you need to drag and drop. Select here and select this one. Not drag and drop, only selection. Here in the source we are selecting JetCity and the target we are selecting data warehouse. These two we need to map. Click on the next option. Right. Now as soon as I click on the next option, in the source whatever tables we have, those tables will be displayed here. In the target whatever tables we have, those tables are displayed here. Okay. Now in the source table and the target table, what are tables we need to map? So in the source table, I will take purchaser, and the target table, there is a corresponding table that is customer underscore dim, customer underscore dimension. This is my target table. Purchaser is a source table, customer underscore dimension is a target table. Now how to map these two? Just drag and drop here. Sorry, select this. Yes, drag and drop. You need to drag the JetCity purchaser to DW customer underscore dim. As soon as I drag this, they have established one relation between these two tables. One is source table, the other one is target table. Now as soon as you drag this, it is generated two queries here. See, this is a source query, select star from jetcity.purchaser. This is a target query, select star from dw.customer underscore dim. Okay. Now if I want to steal few columns, for example, I don't want to check all these columns. I want to check only few columns. Then what columns mapping I want to check? Let us say, for example, here I have a column. This is the source columns. These are the target columns. These are the source columns, target columns. So in the source columns, I have, for example, let us say bill underscore city is there. Do we have bill underscore city in here? We don't have. Or let us take one more. Email is there. So I want to map this email to email. Is exactly correct or not? I want to verify. So what we need to do? Just drag this email to this email. Source to target. As soon as you drag, it will establish the connection here. Okay. So this is all about the mapping between the source and the target table. In the previous screen, we have just mapped the databases schemas, and this particular screen, we have just mapped source table to target table, source columns to target columns. Now, if you observe these queries, it has been changed. See now, select email from jetcd.purchaser, select email from dw.customer. Source query and customer query. Fine. So now, as soon as you have done this, what we need to do, if you want to compare this to we are comparing the columns, right? So first option I have selected, I said column level, then table level, and then row count level. Three levels we can do the mapping. So I'm selected the first level, so that I have taken the column called email here and email here. Now click on the next option. Okay, next option. So here, would you like to create a new design library folder for your query pair or add them to the existing folder? So there are some existing folders are there, right? We can add this query pair. We should give some name to the query pair. So that query pair will be stored under these existing folders, or if you want to store in some other folder, you can still store it. So let me give you for new folder name. So here my parent folder, these are all parent folder. Okay. So I'll give you new name here. So what is the name I can give? I'll let the query pair. This is my parent folder, and here I'll give the folder name. So this is my, or I can say my name, Pavan query pair. This is a query pair I have created. As soon as you get this, so what it is scheduling. So do you want to run now itself, or you want to create test suite and all next time onwards? Just say yes and give some suite name here. Most of the times the folder name as is provided as a suite name here, and then click on the next. Now it is created. This is a source connection name. This is overall picture. Okay, whatever so far we have done, all the steps will be summarized here. This is a source connection. This is a target connection. What comparison type we have used? We have used column level comparison type, and source schema is jetcity, target schema is dw, and this is a query pair is a parent folder. Pavan query pair is a folder name, and this is again same suite name, and number of mapping is 1. Okay, so this is a summarized data. Now once it is done, just click on create. Right, so now it is created as a folder. As soon as it is created here, just click on the OK button. Now query pair is been created. So this is how we need to create a query pair by using wizard. That's the first method. By using wizard, we can create a query. So here, did we write any SQL queries? We haven't written anything. It is automatically mapped source table, target table, columns. Everything has been done by the wizard itself. Okay. Now we have created one query pair. So are you guys following me? Hello? Are you guys following me, Giri? Kavita? Right, so now we have created one query pair by using wizard. Okay, now we will create one more query pair by using query pair option, not through wizard. But in that case, we have to write our own query. Okay, so let me write. So this is a query pair I have created. Let it be there. I will run this query pair later. We need to run this. Just now only design part is completed. Okay, we haven't done any validation part. Now I'll show you one more way to create query pair. How to create query pair. So now select this option, query pairs.
Okay, now here there is an option called create new query pair. This is another option. Here provide some query pair name. So here my query pair name is, I'll say Pavan query pair 2. This is created through option. Uh, okay, Kavita, you can go back because I need to, I'll complete this or else I'll stop for today after 5 minutes. Okay, so then let us continue tomorrow. I'll spend 30 minutes tomorrow. Okay, is that fine? Probably I may not complete all the stuff today, so I'll finish this query pair creation today, and rest of execution analysis part we will see in the next session. Okay, fine. No issues. Again, Sandeep is also required this, so that's the reason. Okay, I'll take tomorrow's class. No issues. You can leave for today. I'll complete this creating new query pair, then I'll finish this. Okay, fine. So now this is a new query pair I'm creating manually. So if you want to give some description, you can give it. And mapping, you don't have any mapping, just click on the save here. Okay, now it will create a new query pair, but we haven't created any queries. Now after saving, it will ask for the source query and the target query. Okay, now here you need to type the source query. So how to write? Suppose let us say select email, right? I'm taking email from jetcity dot purchaser. This is my table name, right? And what is the target query? So target query is select again star from dw dot customer underscore team. This is my target query. This is my source query and this is my target query. We need to specify our own queries and then save this. Save this. Okay, now I have seen this one. Done. So this is the way we need to create another query pair. So as soon as you save this, one query pair 2. Now these are the properties. If you go here, these field properties you will see here. And here you can select data type checking or row count check, whatever you want to check, you need to select those options. Okay, so now close this one. Yes, here. So you are closing the tab that has unsaved change. Would you like to save your changes? Yes. And now if you see, observe here, it is created one more query pair. So in the previous one, I have created query pair inside the folder. This is the actual query pair, but this time I have created query pair outside of the folder. So this is my second query pair, which have been created manually. Just I have created a manual queries. Right. So now we have seen how to create a query pair by using wizard and also by using a manual process. Now these query pairs are ready. Then if you want to see the result, we need to execute these query pairs and then we see the result and do certain analysis part. Okay, so that we will see in the next session tomorrow. I'll stop for today.